All right, folks. So here what we have is some Elizabeth Warren footage from her CNN town hall. As you guys know, Bernie Sanders had his town hall. The other candidates have had their town hall. Elizabeth Warren decided to go after Bernie Sanders, or she said what she said about Bernie Sanders in response to a question about Bernie Sanders. Her question, or her answer, that is really terrible. Let's check this out.
In Charleston, he is currently supporting Senator Sanders.
Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hey now, Senator Warren. Welcome to Charleston.
Thank you.
During the Nevada debate, you and every other candidate on the stage, except for Bernie, hello somebody, indicated that the candidate with the plurality of delegates should not necessarily be the nominee.
Uh-huh.
This essentially means the will of the voters could be denied by the superdelegates and the DNC, which is basically undemocratic. And in my opinion, is a bunch of baba booey, to put it politely. Can you explain why the will of the voters should not matter if no candidate reaches a majority of delegates?
So you do know that was Bernie's position in 2016?
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah.
He won 22 states, so he went to the convention.
That was Bernie's position in 2016, that it should not go to the person who had a plurality.
Yep.
So, and remember, his last play was to superdelegates. So the way I see this is you write the rules before you know where everybody stands, and then you stick with those rules. So for me, Bernie had a big hand in writing these rules. I didn't write them, but Bernie did when they were putting together the 2016 platform for the Democratic Convention. Those are the rules that he wanted to write and others wanted to write. Everybody got in the race thinking that was the set of rules. I don't see how come you get to change it just because he now thinks there's an advantage to him for doing it.
I got to follow that, but I got the Howard reference at Hey Now, by the way, Jason. So listen, Senator Warren, to be clear, would you continue your fight for the Democratic nomination even if another candidate arrived at the convention ahead of you in the delegate count?
Yes.
You would continue. Why?
Because a lot of people made $5 contributions to my campaign to keep me in it. In fact, after that last Democratic debate, 250,000 people came to ElizabethWarren.com and said, we want you in this race.
So she's just saying there that she's ready to just steal the nomination, which is pretty embarrassing. You would think she would have some modicum of, dignity, self-respect. Obviously, I don't know why we would think that, though. She lied about her identity for so long. But so there's a lot to break down there. So there are a couple of things, right? So first thing is, that was Bernie's position in 2016, right? So what Bernie was doing at the end was he was basically saying, in a state in which I won by like 60% and I dominated in, those superdelegates should go to me. And he made his pitch to superdelegates because the entire race was rigged. So he was saying that about states in which he actually emerged victorious, because he would win in a state and then like half of the delegates, which were superdelegates, would end up going to Hillary. It's like, hold on a second, what the hell is going on here? This is not democracy. It's not legit. And so he was trying to basically say that. And then in addition to that, he was making his pitch at the end in a nomination that was completely rigged and cheated. And so from day one, as you guys know, the DNC was a vehicle for Hillary Clinton. And I love that we got that DNC email dump because it proved all of that stuff. There were emails, literally, just imagine the organization that's supposed to be fair in the election is coordinating with Hillary Clinton to win the campaign. But in addition to that, last time around, the superdelegates were on the first ballot. And so basically, I vividly remember this, dude. I was in the car listening to the radio, okay? This is during the campaign 2016. The delegate count that they read off is the number that includes the superdelegates, which had Bernie losing by like 600 delegates or whatever. And so when you hear that Hillary has 1,000 and then Bernie has 400, like, oh, wow. Yeah, see, Bernie's losing so bad. I don't want to waste my vote on the guy. There's no chance. Narratives are everything, dude. Narratives are literally everything. And the mainstream media obviously controls narratives, right? And so if that's the narrative you're playing, oh, look, Hillary has a 600 delegate lead, well, that's the result that's going to bore out. That's what we're going to get. And so it's really dishonest and just shady and snake-like to basically not offer context to that. Is like, oh, this is an entirely cheated race that at the end he was basically like, okay, I'm going to make my pitch to these superdelegates, especially because in the states that I won, they're not even voting for me, and I want those people to have their delegate vote go to me. But it's super dishonest, dude, because the pledged number of delegates, the total pledged number of delegates, not even just the superdelegates, are affected by that lead, because as you guys know, the way momentum works and all of that stuff. So had that been different, then it wouldn't be the case. So to equate those two things is straight, DNC talking points garbage, straight up propaganda, by the way. And then equally dumb is saying that Bernie Sanders wrote the rules. So this is another DNC corporate Democrat talking point. Honestly, she sounds no different than Neera Tanden. In fact, Neera Tanden was gushing at this video. So Elizabeth Warren is now on the level of Neera Tanden. So keep that in mind. But the idea that he wrote the rules is stupid. First of all, the Sanders camp was very underhanded in their representation. When the DNC turned over, they didn't really have many Sanders representatives at all in the DNC whatsoever. And then when you're talking about, the rules being determined, it's super dishonest to be like, oh, you wrote the rules. Bernie Sanders wanted to abolish superdelegates. So he had to compromise in a situation in which the other people wanted superdelegates. And so the compromise that they came to was that, let's take them off the first ballot. And thank God he did that, because had they been on the first ballot this time around, Joe Biden would have been running away with this race, right? So it's awesome that Bernie Sanders did that, right? So it's stupid to be like, oh, he wrote the rules. Dude, if he wrote the rules himself, there would be no superdelegates, period, okay? So that's why it's so dishonest for her to say that. And it's like, just think of it, and, you can analogize it to anything. Just imagine you're, like, compromising with someone, and then, you compromise, you wanted something, and then they say, oh, you wrote the rules. Like, what, dude? Like, I had to compromise on this because it's the, lesser of two evils type of thing. And getting superdelegates off the first ballot is extremely, extremely beneficial, as we see. And also, you heard a Freudian slip in there, too, where she's basically, she's saying that I didn't write the rules, and then she says they were writing. Like, it's so hilarious. I mean, we saw the Bloomberg Freudian slip the other day. But Elizabeth Warren is incredibly disappointing. She is very much a corporate Democrat at this point. I don't really see much of a difference between any of them now. Here's another clip that I wanted to show you guys from this same town hall, where during the debate, she basically said that, the Bernie folks trashed my M4A plan. So let's hear this question. A good question from Don Lemon, actually.
But I dug in, what you just mentioned. You said I dug in, I did the work, and then Bernie's team trashed me for it. And so how exactly did the senator's team trash you?
They wanted to just say, no, we can't do that. Tear it apart, not right, didn't like any part of it. This is part of the problem.
That's so hilarious. And so I have to give credit to CNN, because for some reason, and I'm guessing this is because Bernie's winning now, they've actually been doing journalism lately, asking tough questions and actually doing actual journalism. Like, I was watching CNN the other day, and they had on the dumb Florida representative who was trying to do the whole Castro Red Scare BS. And they actually played the video of Obama saying the same thing as Bernie. I was like, hold on a second. Are they actually doing journalism here? What the hell is going on in CNN? And so I don't know if they're feeling threats from independent media, or if it's just because Bernie's winning, or what's going on. But man, like, that's a legit question. As you saw there, she just flailed in the wind. Seriously, dude. So a Bernie Sanders supporter comes out and gives you these legit concerns and problems that they have with Medicare for All. So I'll give you those problems, right? The biggest issue with Elizabeth Warren's Medicare for All plan is that she wants a double vote, which means she's going to have one vote which will implement a public option, which goes further than Barack Obama's Obamacare did, because as you guys recall, the ACA did not include a public option. And remember how difficult that was to pass. It didn't get any Republican votes. And remember how difficult that was to get through. She's going to do a double vote. She's going to get that on a piece of legislation that's going to be further in the left-wing scale for healthcare. And then she's also, after the midterms, after all of the industries that are involved, big pharma, private health insurance, all of that stuff, right? They're going to pour in money. Republicans, the Koch brothers, are all going to pour in money. And then after all of that, after the midterms, which the Republicans are obviously going to buy out, she's going to do a second vote, which is just, the worst strategy I've ever seen. What she's obviously trying to do is she's trying to give herself a cop out, so when she doesn't pass it, then she can be like, oh, well, I tried. And then she's also trying to give her something to run for re-election on. So that's the problem that's going on. That's the main one. The second one, she's funding it by a regressive tax, and she also has a failure of understanding of how middle class people are going to pay taxes, but they're going to be saving a lot of money, and so that's where a lot of that fundamental issue comes from. But to call that trashing your plan is just embarrassing, because when you use these very provocative verbs of like, oh, you trashed my, like it's more like, oh, like, yeah, I criticized it. But trashing is a very provocative verb to use in this scenario, and I think it's quite dishonest and just, irresponsible, to be quite frank with you. And so her response is just, oh, yeah, they criticized it and it raised issues that they had with the plan. Like, is that really what you're going to start calling trashing now? I mean, come on now, dude. This is just getting embarrassing, man. This is getting really embarrassing. But Elizabeth Warren, straight up snake, man. Got to cut the grass to see all these snakes. Elizabeth Warren is one of them.